Hi guys. Today I want to talk about what do you do when you feel like giving up? What do you do when you think nothing's going to work? Can I get there? I'm not going to get there. I'm going to give up. Well, when you look at this, it happens every day to everybody. Maybe not every day, but it happens within the course of a lifetime many times. Did you know that 92% of people never really achieve their goals? They pretty much give up. 92% is a lot. Giving up is easy. Sometimes it seems like the only way out, but there always is an alternative. It's always going to be there. Giving up is always there. So it's a natural default. It's the easiest way to get from A to B, but you're really not getting anywhere, are you? Every successful person you would admire within your whole life probably got there for that admiration because they never gave up on something. The only difference is they know how to move forward. They know how to push themselves. Being able to learn how to get the tools to push yourselves forward is an art form. It's a skill. It's a motivator. It's something inborn. It's extremely powerful. The greatest athletes, the greatest performers in the world learn how to push themselves forward when they're at their lowest. That's what makes them the greatest. What if I told you that the moment you feel like quitting, that actual moment is the moment you need to keep going the most, because that's where the growth is. And that's where you're going to learn how to do it. Now, let's be completely transparent. Feeling like giving up is a natural experience. It doesn't matter where you are, what your goals are, whether it's health, whether it's personal, it's going to happen. It's the truth. Feeling like you want to opt out and signing out, it's a natural sign. It's a natural default, as we mentioned. So, what do we need to do to sort of avoid that? Well, it's not that easy. Giving up isn't something that happens straight away. It's normally a culmination of things. If everything's going really well and you're full of beans, you've had a good night's sleep, you've had a good meal, your body's looking good and feeling good, and your brain's looking good and feeling good, and your complexion's looking good and feeling good internally, externally, it's not that difficult to keep moving forward. It's when things culminate. It's when they landslide. It's when you start to ruminate. It's when you're exhausted. It's when you haven't had as much sleep. It's when not one thing happens, but the old adage, things happen in threes. They happen in threes because one spills over to the other, which spills over to the other. Those three alone, those three things together make you feel like the world is unconquerable. And, there's no way you can become unstoppable. So, a lot of it's got to do with mental burnout. Making decisions, your brain is wired, in a world for pain and discomfort, which makes, feeling like quitting a relief. It's a normal world that we're in, and, comfort leads to long-term regret. When you're in a comfort zone and you keep yourself in that comfort zone, I've seen it time and time again. People stop working, they go on holiday. If they go on that holiday and they naturally actually need that holiday, it's great, it's revitalizing. If they don't need that holiday, the brain starts to actually worry. It works at 16 quadrillion operations per second. That's a lot of fast movement within one little confined space. So people start to worry about the smallest things. I've seen it before. People aren't challenged. They're not got goals. They haven't got goals. They're not achieving goals. So they decide to go on holiday. And then that holiday, they start worrying about the mail. They start worrying about the taps not working. They start worrying about the lights not working. The things that are just normally a busy person would never even think about. So, mental burnout is a real thing, but you could burn your own brain out if you've got nothing to challenge yourself about. So what I'm getting at here is to avoid that giving up. First of all, you need to be busy with stuff that's actually worthwhile being busy for. What's the difference between a busy person and a non-busy person? A non-busy person might be somebody that's achieved things, and potentially they're not busy right now because they're having a break. Who knows? A busy person might be somebody that thinks they're busy, but they're not really busy, or a busy person might be somebody that actually is busy. But what it comes down to is what's actually real and what actually matters. If you just go into this world and you don't challenge yourself, and you're constantly going on holidays, and you're constantly taking time out, and you're constantly having a rest, your brain needs to keep occupied. So it'll start to worry about the smallest things. So when you are about to give up, work out, are you actually giving up on something that's worthwhile, or is it something that you've created yourself and you've created your own mental burnout? Mental burnout is a real thing, and mental burnout can happen quite simply because you're doing too many things at once, and everybody goes through it. But mental burnout can sometimes be you ruminating, or you thinking about, or you doing things that aren't really that challenging, or aren't really that task driven, or aren't really that important. When you find things that are important, it gives you purpose. That purpose spurs you on. It gives you that why. It gives you that reason to get out of bed. And it inspires your brain to wire and fire in the right capacity. So this is one of the things about giving up. Sometimes you could be giving up just on the way you're looking at things, and that could create a mental burnout. There's also the fear of failure, and when you look at failure, your fear of failure, it happens because society glamorizes overnight success. Society sees things on video, on photos, on Instagram, on YouTube, and it sees these things and goes, wow, that person's so lucky. Why is it happening to me? You don't see the hard work in the background. No one sees the hard work in the background. Nobody on this planet, legitimately successful, has not gone through hell and back. And there's no shortcut. The people that are saying that are generally people that aren't challenged and don't want to challenge themselves. So, sometimes giving up could be the easy way out. But if you find something that you actually really love, you're purpose-driven for, you may not need to give up. Now, let's look at stuff where you are going to give up. And the reason why you want to give up is because you actually have been working hard and things aren't working to your space. They're not going according to plan. They're not sitting on the right side of the fence. You're not moving in the right direction as fast as you would like to. Well, that's normal. That's what happens when you want to become successful. It's a comparison track. You start looking at yourself and comparing yourself to other people, saying, why have they got there so quickly? But you don't know what they've been through. A lot of people that have been through stuff don't tell you about it. The people that haven't been through stuff, a lot of them can fabricate stuff, and then all of a sudden you believe them, but it's fabricated. So what do you believe? You can only believe your own true worth. And that own true worth, that own value of yourself is what you need to put through the grind, the resilience, the grit, that real grunt that you've got to go through to get through the other side. So when you do feel like giving up, think about how strong you're going to be to get through to the other side. And just think about there is somebody else on another day, on another planet or another world or another being somewhere else, somewhere around the world that is going through something where it's a lot worse than you. And that can sometimes catapult you because you start to see black and white. When you're stuck in the middle and you want to give up, it's generally because your brain's confused and you're somewhere in the zone of grey. When you want to give up and you don't have a plan, it means you're giving up because you're being weak. When you're actually giving up, when you've given something your all and you know that it's been properly done and you've put everything into it to be as productive as possible, you'll have a plan B. And that plan B will allow you to exit successfully. When you don't have that plan B, it's normally you just want to give up because things are too hard. You haven't had a good meal, you've got some bad news, someone's upset you, you read something stupidly on social media that's offended you. Well, who knows? You had a bad night's sleep, you've had 4 nights bad sleep. Somebody in the family's unwell, you're unwell, your dog's unwell, someone's unwell. It's fabricated within your own brain. It could be grey. When you're really ready to give up, you'll have a plan B. So when you are placed in that situation where you do want to give up, you've just got to stop and pause and say, don't quit. Because quitting is easy. Anybody can quit. Lots of people go into business and they pull out. Over 93% actually, people that go into business just quit. But businesses all work the same way. They don't work overnight and they go up and down. Everything goes up and down. Every relationship goes up and down. Every business goes up and down. If you want to stay on easy street, well, then you're going to keep curtailing back into the same role pattern, the same brain pattern, the same mind wave that's put you where you've got. And you'll find things to stress about. So when you don't quit, before you take that step, you basically reflect and you don't stop moving forward. You think about, okay, I'm not going to move forward. So maybe I need to just recharge for a minute and take a step back. That little pause might give you that recharge. Even if you've got to take a nap, it might be a 10 or 15 minute nap. It might be the thing that you need to rewire and fire your brain. And sometimes your brain could be moving in a certain way that all it needs is a hard start. It's like your phone. Something happens on your phone that you can't seem to fix, and then all of a sudden the light bulb comes. I'll just switch it off and on. Your brain needs that sometimes. Before you go to quit, step one is to basically take a pause back and understand what's going to be the repercussion if you do quit. And secondly, take a break and see what happens after that break. Step two is you want to reconnect with your why. You want to know why you got there anyway. When you go to quit something, you really have got to understand why you're doing it and why you started it. If you work out why you started it, it doesn't become a vicious circle. It's like someone being in a job and they're not liking the job, so they start a business. Then they get out of the business and they go back to the job. Then they start another business and then that doesn't work and they go back to the job. Then they don't like the job and they go back to a business. It's a vicious circle. At some point, you're going to have to stay in there, roll your sleeves up and do the hard yards. No one can be on holidays their whole life, living a life of joy, doing nothing with no purpose. And when you've got purpose, you've got hardship. That hardship is what makes you get out of bed each day. And that hardship is what drives you to success. And that's what creates legacies. What's what makes great people great. So then step 3 is to break it down. Am I feeling overwhelmed? Is this break helping me? Having a bit of time out, Number 1, I've paused and I've sort of had a bit of a look at things. Number 2, I've thought about why I actually started. And you're at number 3 now. So number 3 is, let's break it down. We've got this big rock. It's massive. It looks like I'm never going to conquer this rock. So let's break it down into 5 rocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out of those 5, let's pick the 2 things that are really bothering me. Okay, now we've made something really big into something really small. Let's put the 3 aside and let's focus on 2 things. That big rock becomes rather small. And then the 3 on the side you can come back to when you're rejuvenated. So then step 4 is where people get this wrong. They start to visualize the end goal at the beginning. Step 4 is visualizing the end goal. If you think every time you're going to quit, think of the end goal, there's a process before you get there. Now you can start to visualize the end goal. When the brain's feeling irrational, you can't visualize the end goal. By the time you go through step 1, step 2, step 3, you've started to get blood to the front part of your brain. Your neocortex starts to see logic. You start to think rationally, and then you start to visualize the end goal, and you think, wow, I forgot about that. Everybody forgets about the end goal, and they forget about why they started something when they're about to give up. So it's just a matter of time to get blood flow back to that front part of the brain so you can think logically and get it away from your emotional brain. When you're in your emotional brain, your limbic brain, when you're in your hardcore reptilian brain at the back and you're thinking of flight or fight, you can't think logically. So at step 4, you start thinking logically and you start to visualize the end goal. And then step 5 is the key. That's accountability. That's when you come in and say, doing this is not only going to help me, it's going to mean a lot to my family. It's also going to mean a lot to my friends. It's also going to mean a lot to other people that I want to help. So you put in that sense of accountability. You tell someone you trust about what you're doing. You make sure you trust that person, because if you tell the wrong person, they could curtail, they could ruin those first 4 steps. So you better know who you're telling. But most importantly, you need to have accountability in yourself due to what you're going to do for others. So I just want to leave you with this. So every success story that you know within history, whether you've seen it on TV or whether you've heard about it or whether you've had it yourself, all culminates around giving up. But in that story, somebody did not give up. That's why there's a great story at the end. There's a great ending. There's a great comeback trail. There's a villain. There's a victim. There's a hero. And that hero is the person that comes out. You want to be the hero. The person that gives up is the victim. And nobody likes a victim. Just like nobody likes a smartass, nobody likes a victim, nobody likes somebody that complains, and nobody likes a procrastinator. You don't want to be that person because nobody likes them. And everybody wants to be liked and then trusted. If this video has helped me, hit that like button. We really want you to subscribe, get motivated so we can do a lot more for you. These are sort of videos we want to bring out. We're getting great pull through for demand from these sort of topics. So let's hold each other accountable. Click that subscribe button and look forward to seeing you next time.